Hello guys, welcome. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. We are going to code emacs lisp. We are going to demonstrate this fantastic command, change brackets. Okay, and if you are here, say hi. Love to see your comments. If you are not here, play at 1.5 speed and skip around because I ramble. Okay, let's begin. My keyboard's Glove 80, Ultimate Hacking Keyboard. And this fantastic thing called Svalboard, Svalboard. I have a video review of all of them on YouTube. Okay, so let's begin Emacs Lisp coding. So this fantastic command. So am I ready? Hello, Phil. Video check, audio check. Okay, so is everything good? Yeah, let's go. I'm using Xah keys. And I'm using a Vorak keyboard layout and Emacs, the most powerful editor. Okay, so let's show the bracket commands. So this command is fantastic. Let me show you. Okay, so let's say copy that. So I want, for example, sometimes let's say I want to change all these brackets to paren. So what's the key? Let's see what is the key. I forgot what is the key. So let's just call the command by name. Metax Xah change bracket pairs. Okay, space RH. Okay, do it and change square brackets to paren. Do it. Fantastic. You see, if you're gonna do this manually, it's gonna take a while because you're gonna do find replace of left paren and then the right paren. So I can also change it to, let's say, call it again, space RH. Do it. Let's say now paren to, let's say, some fancy one, tortoise brackets. You see, fantastic. And it needs not to be one line. You could have like thousands of lines. So close, reopen, put the cursor somewhere in the block, call it, change bracket pairs, do it. This time tortoise bracket to lenticular. That's another Chinese bracket. Fantastic. Okay, so that's a demo of this command. And so you have, if you want to port a program from one language to another, Python, Wolfram, Lisp, or if you want to, sometimes it's template or curly quote or markdown quote or Emacs quote or orgmart quote, so you can change to all of them or you can remove them. Let's try it again. So change some brackets. Now lenticular brackets, change brackets pairs, do it. Lenticular, do it, to none. So it removes them all. So fantastic. Okay, so that is a command, close. Okay, and now if you want to use that command, just go to this website, just copy it, the code is here. Okay, that's one topic. Now what I'm gonna do next is that I need to make some modification of this command, because right now the command, it works fine, it works perfect, but I want to change part of the interface. So this it's more a bit esoteric, advanced Emacs topic involving the interactive core of the command, and also involving the command parameters, the arguments, their interaction. So it's some kind of esoteric advanced design issue. Okay, for most of you, just grab the code and use it. That's it. Okay, but now I'm gonna talk about this interface related thing. So okay, so all good. Hello Rice, East Coast, fantastic. New York, Is it New York or MIT, Massachusetts or Maryland, or Maine, the eastern part of USA, there's tiny states, a bunch of them. I never been there though, except Maryland. Yeah. Hi Phil. Hi Damsek. Hi Phil. How to learn Lisp like you? You just have to have a willing and able. Okay, are you willing to do it? You need to have a desire. Then are you able to do it? Yes, because learning a programming language is fairly easy. Unlike learning mathematics, proof theory, that takes some brain. Okay, programming, if you are watching my channel, you can learn it. So you are able to do it, but are you willing? How willing are you? That's a key question for you. So if you are really willing, you already my tutorials or ask bots or the thousands ways. So let's get on to this issue. Okay, so let me start to do the thing I want to do. Okay, which is make some interface changes. Okay, let me start to explain. This is a bit complicated. So the command is r space rh. Okay, that's the key is space rh. Let's go to the source code. So the source code here, copy it, and let's work here. Okay, so make a new emacs lisp block, paste the code here, pop the code out, do it. So there is a code, and the code is, let's make it longer. Okay, the code is 100 lines, 110 lines. Okay, a little bit involved, 100 lines. So what I need to do is, how do I explain this? You see, you can call this command. So how should I explain this? You can, in like normally in a programming language, Python or something, function name. Okay, you call a function by function name paren 3. Let's say add. So normally in a programming language, let's say Python or whatever. Hold on a second. Let's start the Python. Let's start the JavaScript actually. So JavaScript, you can define fun arrow function. Okay, not I forgot what's the keyword. I don't want function. Okay. Yeah, fn. Okay, so constant arrow function, constant. Okay, function. Okay, so let's say this, let's define xadd, define a function and 2 arguments, x and y, and all you do is just x plus y. So in this case, you can just say x plus no, plus no, plus no. Where is the plus key? No. Okay, there. So there is your function, and then you can just say, we are kind of digressing, but let's say add 3, 4. Okay, print it, and eval fantastic 7. So you define a function and you call a function just by put a bracket behind after that. Okay, so in emacs Lisp, pretty much the same. Let's do a emacs Lisp. Yeah, so okay, I'm talking about this issue in a more interesting way, but it's a bit more to get to what we want to do. But let me show you. Okay, so let's say add in emacs Lisp, you define xadd. Let's keep the same name. Let's add, and how many arguments? Let's say 2. Okay, we don't care about that. Add 2 numbers. Okay, and then you say, then you just plus x y. Okay, that's it, and you call it by, this is 3 4. Okay, now evaluate that. So now Emacs knows that. Now evaluate this part and insert the result here. 7. Fantastic. So you can see, let's pop it back. You can see we did, here is JavaScript, here is Emacs Lisp. Okay, now in JavaScript you define a function, then you call it, just add a parent after it. In Emacs Lisp you put a parent on the whole. Okay, Northern Carolina, oh okay, Diego, Brazil, fantastic. Okay, so let's let's just for fun, let's add some Python. Okay, Python variety, idiotic Python, most idiotic language. So you define function. How do you define a function? I forgot. In Python, what? I forgot how to define a function. Def, okay, def x add xy, good, add to numbers. Okay, then just return x plus y. So in Python you define the function. Now what is this? Oh, am I using tabs? Fascinating, I'm using tabs, contrary to the Guido van Rossum idiots convention. Okay, so you want to call the function. Okay, call it, just say 3, you need a comma, 4, and you need to print it. So print that. Okay, I think that's it. Now let's, I can call this command. Let's do it. Let's see. Please make it work. Yes, it works. And let's put the result back here. So call this. Do that. There it is, 7. Fantastic. So you see, I'm using Xah Python mod. Not PowerShell, but Xah Python mod, and Xah JavaScript mod, and of course Xah Emacs Lisp mod. So that's all, fantastic. The power of learning Emacs Lisp. You can do it too. Okay, so anyway, here is the Python code, runs fine, fantastic. Put it back, syntax correct, showing browser. So we got examples of defining a function in JavaScript, in Python 3, and in Emacs Lisp. Now let's starting to talk about the interactive thing. Now, in a normal programming language, you cannot call this command interactively, a function, add. You don't, because they are not like Emacs. You define it, then you call the function by, the function name, parent, whatever. Same thing in Emacs Lisp. However, you see, in Emacs Lisp, because it's an editor, you have the feature of interactively calling the command. Okay, so let's yeah, okay, great. So let's work out this example. So Emacs Lisp, let's do it again. Let's now this time make it interactive. Pop the code out. So what you do is you have to let's see. Okay, so Control U first, then meta x, then x add. So we are trying to call this command interactively. Okay, enter. It won't work right now. You need to add something. You see, but it shows it proves a point. That is, you can call any function by just meta x. But when you do that, there is a question. How do you actually tell Emacs what is the argument? You see, that's the thing. So that is, in fact, what this interactive part is for. So, for example, okay, am I doing good? So, for example, let's say add 3 and 4. Okay, this new function, it just return 3 and 4, add them together without requiring any argument. So if you evaluate it, then you can meta x Xah add 3 and 4. Okay, do it. Okay, it did it. And go to the message buffer. Where is the result? Okay, let's say let's say insert that, and you need number 2 string. Okay, number 2 string. Okay, fantastic. Put it inside, prettify the code. Okay, let's try that again. Evaluate that code. Now go here, meta x Xah x add 3 and 4. Enter. You see, it got 7 inserted here. Okay, you can insert in any other browser. Okay, let's see, a new buffer, call it, do it, 7. You see, it could be anything. It could be today's date. It could be the result of getting a website, whatever. So the point here is that we define the function, and we are calling this function interactively by meta x. Okay, you cannot do that in JavaScript, in Python. Well, you can, in Python, for example, then you go to the shell, then you have to, interact with the shell. In JavaScript, for example, you interact with the browser. Okay, but then you have to actually code it specifically. But I mean, the thing with Emacs Lisp is that it's designed so that you can trivially make any function in Emacs Lisp to be interactive to just meta x. Okay, that's what this line is for. If you are new to Emacs Lisp, you might ask, what's this interactive? So when you have this line right after your doc string, that makes this function a command. That means basically you can meta x and call it. Okay. Now, but when you call a command interactively, there's a question: how do you pass the arguments? Okay, so there are many ways. So the easiest way is just one of the most general way is you add a list. Okay. So let's regroup. Let me explain a little bit. Okay, let me type it. So far so good. What's your question? I've been Emacs for 6 months. I've been using Emacs for 6 months. High PO. If I want any function, I ask ChatGPT, and most of the time it gives me what I want. Fantastic. After binge watching your old streams, I'm fascinated by how fast you work. Thank you. Fantastic. How fast you are and how cool your way of manipulating text is. Yes, Xah flag keys. Thank you. For example, Xah cycle hyphen low line space is really useful. Yeah. So for example, I go here. Wait. Press the wrong key. It closed the buffer. Reopen. So cycle. You see, cycle. Hyphen space to whatever. Actually, we don't want. You can't do it here. Something in the water does not compute. Not key pass. Compute. Cycle. Fantastic. Okay. So that command is describe key. Press the key. That command is cycle, and it is here, and you can get it. Go to this URL and you can grab the code and you'll have it. Fantastic. Okay, but now let's get back. Yeah, so let's regroup. So in eLisp, you okay, so wait, define a function. Okay, what? So this is defining a function. Call the function. Okay, that's one thing. Now in emacs Lisp, any function can be trivially, that's a keyword, trivially, turned into a command and call, and user can call it by meta x, okay, which is normally alt plus x, okay. Let's make it okay. You can do this by adding right after the doc string. Okay, so there is an example. Okay, now, okay, next. Now, if your function has argument, you can make if your function has argument, you know, there are many, so there's a question, there is a question, how do you pass the function argument when you call it interactively? Okay, that's a question. What you do, there are many ways. There are many ways depending on the function. For example, one of the way is you just ask people. Simplest and naive way is to simply prompt user, like what do you want, you know, what's the argument, for example, like this. Okay, so so let me explain this. Okay, so instead of working on my problem, I started to do a tutorial on the interactive thing. Because you see, my problem is about the interplay with using, you know, coding interactively and the design the function design of the function's argument, the function's signature. You know, but I can't explain that without first explaining the interactive, you know, the nature, the two ways to call the function. So right now I'm just like doing a tutorial about this interactive thing. Okay. Hello, Huang. Am I doing good? Like, can you hear me? Can you see me? Sometimes you know, like 3 years ago, I did a whole stream, like 1 hour talking, but my video and audio is not on. And then 2 days ago, I did a 15-minute live stream coding a function. When I'm done, I realized the the start stream is, I didn't click it. So, okay, I'm autistic. Okay, so we are explaining the define a function, call the function. Then in Emacs Lisp you can call any function interactively. When you do that, that function is called command. So this is good to know. That's a difference in Emacs Lisp. That's a difference of command versus function. Okay. When a function can be called interactively by meta-x, that function is also known as a command. Okay. Now, to make a function a command, you just add this interactive clause. Okay. Now, by the way, okay, if you just go to my Emacs blog, then my Emacs entire 1000 pages Emacs tutorial, then you go to practical Emacs Lisp, then you go scroll down, you can see search text, text editing, mark and region. What are they? Copy, paste, cut, paste. How do you do that? Get buffer string, work with lines, thing at point, get user input. Then the first thing is interactive form. This page is what I've been explaining in past 10 minutes or so. Okay. So, okay, copy that, go to talk show and paste it, okay, so that we got some kind of like record, okay. So we were explaining that, okay. So wait, close that now, now go back here. What is this page? Emacs blog, close. Okay, back here. So for those of you already know Emacs Lisp Emily, like this is boring. But anyway, let me go on. So there's a question: how do you pass the argument? So what do you do? Hold on a second. Okay, so how do you pass the argument when you call a function interactively? Okay, one easy way. Okay, let's put it there. The simplest way is just simply prompt user and put the args inside list, inside interactive, okay, like this. So list. So let's say let's go back to this function, add xy. So instead of fixed argument, okay. So add two numbers. So interactive. So you want to give a list here. So if you say 3, 4, let's demo, okay. So you see, this interactive is a class by itself. Then here you just say x, y, okay. So now we call that, we evaluate this command, then call Xah add, okay. Do it. It inserts 7. Why 7? Because when you said when it's called interactively, just pass this value as argument. So the function gets 3 and 4. Therefore, result is 7 and 4. Okay, but this way it's still fixed because every time you call the function, you just get 7. That's not good. Okay, so now you want to ask user. Okay, so here is how to ask user for arguments. Okay, so instead of these 3 and 4 hard coded, you ask user. Okay, for example, you can call read string. There it is. Okay, enter number, okay, then the rest we don't care for now, okay. Enter a number, that's how you ask people, user, okay. Now enter second number, okay, enter first number, okay, pretty fine, there it is, okay. Now evaluate the code. Now meta-x Xah add, do it. So you say enter first number, let's say 9. Enter second number, 1. 1. Enter. Wrong type of argument. Oh, wait. So, we want number, we don't want string. So let's change that. Read number is what I want. Okay, there's data type differences. Okay, evaluate it. Meta-x Xah add, enter first number, let's say 9, enter first number 1, enter, you got 10, fantastic. Fantastic. Do I have a shortcut? No. Fantastic. No. So, okay, so that's how you prompt user and pass them as the argument to the interactive when this command is called interactively. Okay, I end up doing a tutorial for interactivity, and maybe that's gonna be the topic today. But okay, so here is get user input, so you can ask for file name, you can ask for directory, you can ask for a string, you can ask for regular expression. Why you can ask for a number? Why are they so many different ways? Because, for example, when you ask for a directory, it can just navigate the directory and do directory name completion. Same thing with file name. And, so if you want to ask people to type a regular expression, it will check the syntax, so that's why you have different, ways to ask user. So that is explained on this page. Let's go to Talk Show and paste it there. Merge these two lists, show in browser. There it is, okay? So that is kind of the basics of the interactive form, okay? That is for you to call a function interactively by meta-x. Okay, so in Emacs you can easily do that. All you have to do is add interactive. Then if you want to add arguments, just say a list. Then the items, you can prompt user, or there are other ways, okay? But let's not go into that, okay? That's a basic. Okay, that's one topic. Now, let me explain what's going on, what is it I wanted to do about these change brackets. You see, let me just quickly explain the problem, okay? Then I'm gonna work it offline because it's about the design issue. So let me explain that, okay? So here's the code. So far so good. Put it back. Syntax show in browser. Here is the code we did explaining the interactive, okay? Now the code change brackets, okay? Now let's go there. So here's the code of change brackets. You see, here's the issue. When you write a function, so normally if you don't call the function interactively, then you just have to design your parameters, which is also important by itself and somewhat complex. For example, you probably are familiar with Unix shells, bash or git, or for example, let's go to git. Git is the most worst lousy design fuck. because you have all these commands, following the tradition of Unix, incomprehensible. Like you have no idea what like very complex. And for example, the most popular example, classic example of the argument design fuck up is the Unix PS command, which lists processes. Okay. So let me explain this. Let's go to Linux. So Linux, do I have the PS example there? I don't think so. Oh, there it is, PS. Okay, so PS is very complex. You have all these cryptic arguments, and then you have two different versions of Unix. For example, classically, you do on Solaris is PX text mod. Okay, let's say shell mod, shell script mod. Okay, so PS, I have my PSAUWWX. Okay, that's the classic argument to type on Solaris 30 years ago. You don't even need a hyphen. Okay, why? Because A means all, U means I forgot what, W means make it wordy like verbose, but 2W means make it more wordy. Then X means something I forgot. Okay, but you can ask work these days. Okay, I'm talking about the Unix history here. So let's go to work. What is this on Solaris? Okay, paste PSAUWWX. Okay, that's a classic, most common. Okay, on Solaris, the command PSAUWWX is a way to display detailed information about processes using BSD style syntax. There you go. Typically executed via user UCB PS Berkeley version and so on. The A lib means all users. Okay. All users, right? And U means user-oriented output format. Okay. W means wide output, meaning verbose. Okay. By default, PS limit output to 80 characters. The fuck Unix, they silently truncate lines. Okay, so W extended typically to 132 characters. Is it cut off the lines? The fuck Unix. I talked about this like a month ago. The extreme damage by the Unix fuckheads, and today they are in Linux. And X means includes processes that do not have a controlling terminal. Okay, background process. Okay, so that's what that's a Berkeley version, but typically on HPUX or the other Linux, it's PSEF, kind of does the same as that. Okay, very complex fuck. Okay, let's ask a work now. Explain PS-EF. Okay, if I remember it correctly. Fuck Unix. On Solaris, on Solaris and many Unix-like systems, the PS-EF command is a system V style. That's right, system V. Okay, back then that's the two major differences: system V and BSD. Okay. Wait, no, system V versus what's the other? Anyway, E displays information about every process on the system. F specifies full output. Okay, so anyway, that's the two major incompatible shit. But the one of the glaring shit is this AUWWX without hyphen in front. Like typically by the Unix shell standard, you have a hyphen in front of a command, right? I mean argument, but not so here. So this is one example out of the thousands, out of the tens of the Unix fuck up extreme fuck, Unix and C fuckheads. They don't care. It just works. It just works. So Unix and C fuckheads. So in Linux what does Linux do today? They basically combine both. Okay, so it's more complex. Like the story of Unix in the past 40 years it's shit to begin with. You just pile another shit on top of it. That's the story of Linux. Okay, now let me get back to why am I talking about this? Because this issue is about functions argument design issue and the syntax. In the case of whether you have dash or not, that's part of the syntax. But let's not worry about syntax. There's a design issue about the, like what kind of argument do you need when you want to list processes, right? What we talked about here is incompatibility of two different designs, but let's just focus, suppose we just focus one. You want to think about what kind of argument do you want? What if one argument is dependent on another? For example, that happens all over on Unix. For example, ls, the Unix fuckheads, ls-al. If you have L exists, L means long format, okay? Like some argument will turn off other arguments. So if you have this argument on, that overrides another, ABC. But if you have Z, that overrides B. But if you have B on, then it overrides C and D, and fuck Unix, okay? And sometimes an argument is just true or false. So you don't have to say, so sometimes you have to say argument true, argument false, or the true false is omitted. Simply whether you have that argument name, if that's present, that means true. So it's like entire fuck up, the fuck Unix, okay? So I'm talking about this because this is about the design, the semantic, not syntax, okay? Syntax is about other things like whether you need a dash or not. We are now talking about the design of a function's parameter, semantics, okay? Design a function parameter, okay? So let me summarize. Let's regroup and summarize so that we don't lose track what we are doing. So hold on a second. So we talked about Unix PS practice. Close that. Okay. Put it back. Okay. So we talked about PS AUWWX. We talked about PS EF. Okay, and we talked about LSAL. So let's make this shell. Okay, actually, let's make it bash. Okay, then let's make comments. The design of function arguments. Okay, that's one thing. Design of the semantics of functions arguments. That's one thing. The other thing is the design of the syntax of functions argument. That's another thing. Okay, separate. They are separate. Now remember. Now I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but this is like critical. This is not just in Unix. In any function in Python, Perl, Wolfram language, F#, you have to design this in PowerShell. You have to, like if you are going to write a function, a shell commands or Python, this is a broad concept. Okay, the design of the semantics of a function's argument. Now, the design of the syntax of a function argument is usually part of the language. So if you are doing this in shell, you follow the bash, like it's like fixed, okay, kind of. If you are doing this in Python, in PowerShell, the syntax is fixed. You know. Okay, so let me type them out so we have a clarity of what we are talking about, because it's getting complex. One thing of concern is the design of semantics of function arguments. This applies to any language: Python, Perl, Ruby, JavaScript, F#, Wolfram language, okay, ACT, Clojure, Haskell, Java, and PowerShell. Okay. Now the other thing is the design of syntax of a function argument. This aspect is usually just part of the programming language syntax. You no need to worry about much, okay? Because whoever designed the language has already designed the syntax for you, right? Because we looked at, for example, we have seen, where's today's talk show? Yeah, we have seen defining a function in JavaScript, in Python, in emacs lisp. How the syntax of the argument is already fixed for you, already designed, okay? So this is the second thing, okay? Now, here, what are these? These are illustrations. Here are illustrations of the complete Unix motherfucking fuck up, okay? In both the function argument semantics and syntax. Okay, this example. For example, the PS without a dash, that's a syntactical violation. Fuck the Unix. Now, this repeated argument, WW, that's another fuck up, like almost in no language, you repeat the argument just so that to make it more, like this WW, which happens in Unix a lot. Like sometimes it's -v. If you give V and V again, it means more verbose, Okay, so these are the demonstration of both, fuck up, okay, the Unix fuck up. Persist in Linux too, all over, okay, all over. It just the PS is more pronounced. Now when you design a function's argument, okay, when you design the semantics of function argument, this is a very broad topic, and you need to learn and think about, okay? If you code software, you start to write a lot of functions, then you start to you need to pay attention to this. In particular, if you are designing a function that people use often, okay? Okay, anyway, so that's about the things, topics, okay? So let's, so hold on a second, so let me, okay, put it back and put this back. Let's put it this. Okay, we have written out some of the things, okay? Showing browser, go down, fantastic. So we were talking about the design of semantics of a function's argument, Okay, the design of the syntax of a function's argument. Okay, then we have some illustration of the Unix fuck up, and okay, so let's clarify. So let's then that's a different topic here. Now color it, show in browser. Okay, so now we are getting close to what I'm trying to do about my issues. So now let me show you a example of documentation that explains the complexity of designing the semantics of a function's argument. This is particularly important if you are creating commands in shell languages, because users need to type it every day. If you have conflicting arguments, this means depends on that depends on this, and some Boolean argument, you have 10 ways to write it, that's no good. So there are documentation that, let me show you an example that gives you a guide how to do this in PowerShell. Okay, that would be where are we? Semantics. Okay, now so here PowerShell function argument. Okay, then let's find it. There's I don't want this any of these Pajit websites, or idiots. How can you tell when some website on programming language is low quality? They got a picture, they got these funny irrelevant pictures. Whenever they have a photo or picture, it's a shit website. This practical 365. Stack Overflow, that's pretty good, but today is died because of the bots, the AI bots. So also we need to copy this. Okay, let's make a screenshot of that, and then explain that EF. Okay, screenshot, and let's copy the URL. Okay, we are going full documentation and writing a tutorial, so you are looking at my workflow. Copy link. So back to our talk page. Okay, so here's a link. Make a link list, and screenshot put here, screenshot put here. These are PowerShell. These are Bash. Okay, so for example, look at it. This is about the Unix PS command. Okay, so let's rename the file Xah Talk Show Unix PS. Okay, copy it, rename it. Okay, fantastic. And this is also Unix PS. Do that there. Okay, and this is Grok answer, so put Grok answer back in here. Okay, and now cut those two, and let's put here there. Okay, then go up, then show in browser, go down. So we got design of the semantics of a function's argument, then design of the syntax of a function's argument, then the explanation, the example of the Unix fuck. Okay, so let's put a header. Refresh. Example of Unix violation. Okay, PS. So now let's go back to the PowerShell question, PowerShell function argument. Let me show you where. Okay, that article gives you a guide on how to design functions argument. Okay, about functions, let's go there. Functions, Microsoft, about advanced parameters. Okay, let's see. Parameters. So these are about these are about how to code it. But there is a page that gives you a guide on how do you design functions parameters. Okay, let's turn on JavaScript, refresh, and PowerShell. You know, there's annoying they don't. Okay, so you got switch parameters, which are Boolean parameters. Then you know PowerShell is pretty complex. There it is. Okay, switch parameters, design considerations. You know, so you can read about the guide. Okay, now I believe then you can add attributes to parameters. Okay, so this page is very long. Oh yeah, so here then you got, yeah, so then you got positional argument, then you got named argument. So how do they interplay? That's another somewhat complex issue. Okay, like, you know, do you guys know what I mean? Like normally when you define a function, it's all positional parameters, you know, when you add two numbers. But sometimes you want a named argument, which is like the shell dash something. So, you know, you can, you know, so that way you don't have a, you know, 10 arguments, which orders are important, you know, you don't know which one is which. So if you have named argument, then you can, the order doesn't matter because each argument parameter always have a name, you know, like color, something, red, you know, something. So this positional argument, then named argument. Now what if they intermix, especially this happens in shell, so you gotta, you know, especially in PowerShell. So PowerShell is very well designed. So anyway, so this page is a guide about functions argument, very complex. Okay, so some argument can accept values from a pipe. Yeah, this is a large argument. Now, okay, large document. Okay, so actually function advanced methods, function advanced. Okay, what is this? About function advanced parameters, explains how to add parameters to advanced functions. You can add parameters to the advanced functions that you write and use parameters, attributes, and arguments to limit the parameter values that function users submit. Now, I don't remember if this is specifically the document I'm looking for. I don't think it is. There is a specific document that talks about the design of arguments. Okay, switch parameters, switch parameter design issues. Runtime defined parameter type, very complex. Okay, so how long have I been talking? An hour now already. Okay, so I think that's it. But we are very close to what I'm gonna need to do. Okay, so 10 more minutes we'll be done. About function argument completion, about function argument completion. Go down, go down, go down. About tab expansion, go down, go down, go down, go down. Okay. About functions advanced, let's try that. Okay, let's close that. Wait. wait, let's not close. Let's copy it first. Okay, let's paste. So this is Microsoft PowerShell function argument design guide. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, and also this URL, I don't want the I don't want the the version or whatnot. Okay, Microsoft PowerShell function argument design guide. Now what about this one? About function advanced. Okay, yeah, somewhere. Okay, somewhere here about advanced parameters. Wait, is it that one? About function advanced parameters. Yeah, okay, that's the one we were reading. Okay, so anyway, that's about the the complexities of function argument design. Now let's go back to let's show this in browser. Now, yeah, so the problem I wanted to solve, this Xah change bracket, is that you see this function, first of all, it needs to take a beginning and end position. Like, when you want to change brackets, you need to know what region you want to make this change to, or do you want it to do with a whole file, whole buffer, right? So you need a beginning and end position if you are writing this function. Now, but if you call this function interactively, usually you don't want user to say what's the beginning end, because you have to, it's very tedious. For example, what is this position? This position is position 6221. You don't want user to find that out. So by default, it'll just work on whatever the current block, text block. For example, I can do this. So if I call this Xah change bracket pairs, then if I say, that's greater than, and change it to, let's say, lenticular bracket, do it. You see this? You see? So you don't have to say which begin and. So if you call this interactively, you'll automatically figure out. But if you call this function, typically you want the argument, you want to have an argument to say begin end, right? So, but right now I don't have it because, my code depends on whether region is active. So that's why it's a bit complex to explain. So I want to add a begin end, okay? But if you add begin end, of course, then interactively you need to figure that out, like by default, just use the current block, the current block separated by blank lines. So anyway, I need to add a begin end. You can't just add it because then you need to change the interactive. Also interactively, you offer a list of menus. So that's the thing I need to change. Okay, so it's all related to about the designing of function arguments, and in the Emacs case, you have the interrelation between calling it as a function or calling it as a command interactively. And once you so you have to first of all think about this as a function. You call it as a function. What are the arguments? Then you need to think about, when you call this as a command, which argument should be automatically supplied. Okay, yeah, that's a key. That's a summary. That's the issue. Yeah, that's it. That's it for today. So thank you guys for watching. Go to xahli.info. Okay, go to xahli.info. Go to all the way down. Patreon, Amazon gift card, PayPal me. Okay. that's it. I'm gonna answer the comments and see what you guys are saying, and that's it. Git alternative? Not really. There is a Git alternative. Someone wrote an academic paper by now, like 5 years ago, more than 5, 8, 10 years ago. Someone wrote a, I think, PhD thesis or something, or master thesis that clones Git, but without the complexities of the Git idiocy. So if you try to search it, you will probably find it. I might have it on my blog somewhere, but it's buried. I don't remember where. So if someone wrote a PhD, a thesis, okay, they created a simpler, like still as powerful, but much simpler syntax. Okay, I don't remember what's the name or what. I like Magic, but I also use regular Git. I don't like Magic, okay? Magic is shit. Oh, Nick. Hi, Nick. I have a rant on Magic. I ran it on live stream for more than once, I think. So if you just go to my Emacs blog, search Magic, M-I-G-I-T. Magic is shit. So first of all, there's tutorial about. So Magic, if you don't know, Magic is a Emacs mod. So to interface to Git, so you don't have to, for example, typically what I do is, for example, cd up Git status. This is what I do today. So you can see there's a new picture. Oh, the Xah Talk Show, new picture, Unix. PS. Okay, so then I say git add this, okay, then git status, you see, didn't add that, okay, those are in other directories, but okay, I can go to Talk Show. But anyway, that's what I do. I don't use Magic anymore. But yeah, so let's look at Magic. So that's a tutorial. And it's a funny, Richard Stallman in 2014, Magic Git begin in 2008 or something, 2008. And by 2010, it's all popular. It's used. By 2010, back then there's a repository tool war, Git versus Mercurial versus another, versus 2 or 3 others. There's a war. Eventually Git won because GitHub, Linux Torvald, famous, Linus wrote Git, the guy who wrote Linux. So he's seeing, he's this powerful, great programmer. And then somehow the GitHub, website turned off. And I think it's mostly due to GitHub that made Git won the version control system. Git won. Okay, back then there was a war. So everyone just adopted Git. So by 2010, everyone already adopted Git. But then in 2014, Richard Stallman, what's Magic? Because this is funny because Richard Stallman is being out of date. He's like living in a cave, more cave than me. His cave is more deeper than me. He don't know what's going on in the world. He had no idea. Like he asks people, what is Magic? Okay, you see, by then 2014, you see you got 3,000 packages, Emacs packages on Mailpath, and there comes Richard Stallman. Oh, what is Magic? Okay, that's funny. And then here is my article, Magic Problems, okay? magic problems. I'm not gonna go into, but anyway, the guy is nice. Okay, I know the guy since like 20 years ago. Magic is created by this guy. What's his name? He lives in Japan. Wait, what? Yeah, this Jonas Bernoulli. Okay, he's very nice, a very nice person. but I had a few argument with him about the Git technical issue about magic, and he refused to change. Then I say, fuck Git, fuck magic, So I stopped using magic. Alternative is this version control command built in Emacs vcdir, which I use some for example, I can do diff. Let me show you. Press this key, no change between working and revision. Okay, close that. Press this key. So it says, change. This is today's talk show. Close it. Show in browser. You see, Xah Talk Show. Before I begin, then you see show the difference. So I'm calling the command vcdiff. Okay, so it'll call, I don't remember what it calls. Maybe it calls git diff behind the scenes. But anyway, it shows the the difference, like in the past hour, the things I just added to this page, Xah Talk Show. Okay, so that is that article. Okay, version control, that's built in vc something, the command. Okay, that's it for today. So I'm shutting down in 1 minute. So now I go to talk show and just paste all the links that we talked about. Okay, so this version control command, Emacs blog, today's talk show. This is Richard Stallman making a scene of his ignorance, out of date. And here's a basic tutorial for magic. Okay, close it. Search, close it. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. And this PowerShell we talked about, a guide on designing function parameters. Practical Git in 1 hour. Copy that. This is my tutorial. If you don't know Git, recommend it. Okay, Practical Git in 1 hour. Linux by command line. So Linux processes. That's my Unix tutorial, which is good for beginner. Okay. So Linux processes. Git undo, close. Okay. Rejects, we already have that link, I believe. Search user. There it is, user input. Bye guys. Oh, we don't have that link. So cycle hyphen low line space, change bracket. We have, that's what the topic, supply keys. Fantastic. Bye. Any comments on Canonical plans to replace the existing core util with a Rust implementation? Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'm gonna look into that drama. They're gonna, Richard Stallman gonna be replaced. Totally agree with Git. Yeah, there was Mercurial. It was much more straightforward. Yes, I like Magic, but Nick, hi Nick. But I also use regular Git. Yes. Okay, so let's see next. This annoying thing always pops up. Find file at point. Do I use that? Well, yes, but I have my own version. So for example, In HTML, I want to find file at point. I just press enter because this is Xah HTML mod. But if you, if you given a, let's say a new buffer, and let's say text mod. So how do I open that? I call this command Xah open file at cursor. So let's look at source code. So why do you have your own? Well, because when you call find file at point, it's very annoying. Find file at point, okay, FAP. It asks you, are you sure? Wait, why is it not running? Okay, it asks you, are you sure? Is this the one? Please confirm. Fucking annoying, okay? If I call my version, just do it. Just open the fuck thing. If you cannot find, then pop out the error. The emacs find file at point. Are you sure this is the one? That's why I have Xah open file at cursor, and not at point. What the fuck point? And find file. Those are harmful Asian emacs jargons. To open a file in Emacs, it's called find file. You have to find. And the cursor position in Emacs is called point. So that's why you have find file at point. So that decreases the popularity of Emacs. When it takes time to learn all these